Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Gail Kim is a former wrestler. She's married to celebrity chef Robert Irvine, and she took to clap back at some U.S. politician on Twitter. It was a pretty witty Twitter. Um, Basically, this politician was talking about the people most concerned about abortions are the ones that least need it. In other words, the ugly and stuff like that. And she basically clapped back, it's funny this guy has to pay for sex. I have no problem with that. But valid, perfectly valid. But in the comments, some person, some guy, had to mention that he's always being friend zoned. Like, first of all, are you trying to get a date with Gail Kim? Like, what are you trying to get out of this tweet? Secondly, the friend zone doesn't exist. Hate to tell you. Yes, women have preferences for who they would choose to be their dating partners and who they'd rather weren't. But it's not because of anything you did. This whole theory of alphas and betas dates back to a scientific experiment that had some flawed methodology. It's basically observing wolves, and they noticed that there was an alpha in the pack. And the alpha was the one that seemed to be running everything, and the rest were betas, because beta comes after alpha in the Greek language. So the scientists went off this, did their behavioral studies, and found, alphas got slightly better food, their children were treated a little bit better, blah, blah, blah. They did all this research, and it was good research. The fatal flaw in the research was they were studying captive wolves. Yeah, animals don't react the same in captivity that they do in the wild. This is basic knowledge. But this study was accepted as gospel for many, many years. It's wrong. There's no alphas and there's no betas unless you have people in captivity. So maybe in a prison there's alphas and betas. I don't know. I've never spent a significant amount of time in prison to be able to observe the social interactions. But these people going around complaining that they're betas and the alphas get everything and they're not. What kind of gross dysmorphia of yourself do you have to have? Yes, I've spent long periods of my life single. Yes, I've had dating woes like everybody else. I'm not a beta. I'm not an alpha. What they do have is extroverted people and introverted people. This is real. This is documented. And there's a spectrum in between. Some people are slightly extroverted, some people are majorly. That's just the way things are. Silverlight seems extroverted, but never shows his face. So what do you think I am? Just a guy trying to be heard. But this whole friend zone idea is disgusting. I have female friends. And I will admit, some of my female friends are quite attractive. I have my wife. She found me attractive. That's wonderful. Was I ever friend zoned by any of my female friends? No, not to my knowledge. The only one I know for sure, and she did this because she had an unpleasant experience on the internet, and I typed something stupid, which does happen, when you're communicating by text, which is what I prefer. And she sat me down and she said, "Look, you're my friend. I don't have any further interest in you." I'm like, where is this coming from? And then she told me that somebody was kind of stalking her, and I had just said a stupid thing, a wrong thing to say at the wrong time. My fault. I'm an idiot. I admitted that to her. Yeah, she's quite attractive. She still is. She's nearly in her 60s, and I tell you, I hope I look that good when I'm 60. But there's no friend zone there. First of all, she's married. Second of all, if she was single, she's attractive, but our personalities are such that long-term relationship between us is probably just not going to happen. Does that mean I'm friend zoned? No, because I'm not her friend because I want to get into her pants. Like I said, I will admit she's attractive. I love talking to her, but a relationship would just never work between us. So I understand that. I also know these guys that hang around women and they're wailing afterwards, oh, she only thinks I'm a friend, but I want to be her boyfriend. Now think about your statements there. If that fit into your head, you're using that woman. You are using that woman's friendship to try to have your way with her. That's not a sign of a healthy relationship. That's a sign of an abusive relationship. It's not actively hitting her, it's not harming her, but it's not healthy. It is toxic. And most of the people, the gentlemen, it's because it's almost exclusively a male phenomenon about being friend zoned. I don't think I've ever heard a woman say that in their life, but I stand to be corrected, and I'm sure there's one out there somewhere. Pretty much anything you can name, there's somebody out there with it. That's just the way we are in the modern age, and with all the cultures, yeah, it happens. So if you are complaining that you're always friend zoned, if you're having difficulty finding the right person, the only way you're going to get out of that is look in the mirror. Improve yourself. There's a reason women have decided you're good enough to be their friend, but not good enough to be their lover. That's because it's probably something that comes off the wrong way to them. Remember, for the old expression, first impression, you only get one chance to make a first impression, 100% true. Things can happen later, social dynamics change, but that first impression does speak volumes for men, women, children, you name it. They know right away. They feel comfortable with you. They don't feel comfortable with you. They're willing to, you're somewhere in the middle, but they're willing to move forward. That's the way human nature is. Not alpha, not beta, not friend zoned. It's just you are presenting yourself in a way that is not appealing to the majority of the population. And you're never going to be able to present yourself to be attractive to everybody. I can tell you, not everybody is somebody that I can live with. My best friend in the world, love him to death. He was just here this afternoon. I would probably kill him within the first month of us living together. Great guy, love having fun with him. But, like I said, just if we were put on that rocket ship to Mars to spend 2 years together, one of us is not coming home. I've shed blood with this man. We've been through tears. You name it, he's been there. But I know he has certain habits that drive me insane. And I can take them, for a weekend, for a trip going somewhere. Yeah, but long term, he does have Tourette's, and it's not major. But because of that, he has little tiny tics that they're not major enough, but they build up over time. For example, his face twitches. This doesn't annoy me, but it's an example of a little thing, and sooner or later, it happens. You get that same thing over and over again, and it's kind of like being hit in the head. And so for somebody with Tourette's, who does a very nerdy job, he married his high school girlfriend. Yeah, they have a family now, they're well established, they have good careers. So is he a beta? No. He's an alpha, although he's pretty much introverted. He likes his small group of friends. At the same token, he's one of his company's top guys, so he winds up being flown all over the place to train people and take care of things. Humble guy, but most people look at him and figure he was a beta. This is why I'm saying alphas and betas do not exist. Me, Silverlight, the ex-military guy with his own podcast on YouTube. Actually, several, but that's neither here nor there. Does all sorts of things. I would be closer to the beta. I would be in the quote friend zone, end quote, but I don't believe in it. One of my friends is a lawyer in Washington, D.C. Good guy. I give him a shout out here, but he has enough trouble in his life. He's actually dated a celebrity you probably know. But she kept saying, I want a relationship, we need to take it slow, and because he believes in this whole alpha beta friend zone nonsense, he was a little bit too clingy, a little bit too fast, and she wound up deciding that she didn't want to spend time with him because he let his poisonous attitude influence his relationship. Now it's only when he gets in a relationship, he's fine working around women. Like, if I would have no problem leaving my daughter and my wife with him. He would never do anything untowards. At the same token, he does get toxic when it comes to women. Remember, it's your attitude that counts. And women, humans in general, are smarter than you think. That first impression, everybody else says, oh, I knew from the beginning there was something wrong with that person. And they're right a lot of the time. That's what you have to change. For me, my problem is I'm big and imposing. And I have a voice that I can shout 2-3 blocks away because I'm ex-military. And for some reason, people think I'm aggressive. I'm not. I'm a pussycat. I know how to fight. I just choose not to. I'll teach somebody how to fight, but I don't want to be going down and punching people and stuff like that. I'm not trying to prove that I'm the number one guy. I prove I'm the number one guy by doing what I'm supposed to do. I have a frost-free hose that broke. I fixed it. That's how I prove I'm worthwhile. Not an alpha, just a worthwhile person. But when I speak to people, even though I have a relatively gentle voice, and I'm very careful, I monitor my voice, and I almost do baby talk with people. Like if somebody's blocking my driveway, excuse me, would you mind moving your car, please? Thank you. Nothing wrong with that. People are incredible. One of my wife's friends was coming to pick her up, and I went out. She was in the street, and I just knocked on her window. She went down and said, hey, you don't need to sit in the street. Come on in. The driveway's clear. You can pull in there. She's going to be a couple minutes, so you might as well come in. And she thought I was being mean. First time I've ever heard somebody being mean by inviting you in, but hey, I realize I'm a scary-looking person. But that's the impression people get. I've had a lot of time to think about it. The so-called friend zone guys don't get it. Like I said, the first step is to look into the mirror and identify how people perceive you. My lawyer friend in Washington, D.C., perfectly respectable looking guy. Kind of what you'd imagine, what do we say, middle of the road law firm, lawyer looking person. Worst description ever. I'm sorry. But looks exactly like you think somebody would. He showers, he shaves, in my opinion, he's not bad looking. But he just gets onto tangents, and he doesn't know this. Something gets in his mind, and he wants to explore it. Whether you want to or not, he's determined to go through with it. And that pisses people off, male, female, whatever it is. Like I said, I just have learned over the years that if it's good tangent, let it go. If not, I know how to railroad him into a different conversation. But if you're a potential romantic partner and that's going off, there are some romantic partners that would like that. But most people probably wouldn't. So he's not being friend-zoned, although he thinks he is. he's put himself in a predicament where his own personality and the vibe he gives off, I'm going to use air quotes around vibe, the vibe that he gives off is what informs other people about his personality and his intentions. I'm lucky at the present time because beautiful wife, got kids. Silverlight's a pretty happy guy. I have been in that down low period of my life where didn't have anybody dating me, seemed to go on forever, but I was still able to get women to go out with me. I I was never friend zoned. I was race zoned. Yes, there's this Russian woman who I was on a date with, and I mean, we hit it off like incredible. And she was Russian. She told me she was Russian, and she spoke the language. So I was as Russian as I'm going to get. Very lovely looking woman. There was such chemistry between us. Like there was that instant click. And at this point, I'm in my early 40s, and I've had. She was in her mid 30s, I believe. And we were sitting there, and keep in mind at this point that we've definitely established a physical connection between us. And then she suddenly out of nowhere says, "Have you ever dated non-white women?" And my very first girlfriend was Pakistani. Lovely lady. Once again, I was stupid to break up with her, but that's many years in the past. Plus, over the years, I've dated every culture because I have no prejudice against anybody. But I had said to her, yes, I've dated a few. As a matter of fact, I just broke up with a Chinese girl after, 2-3 years. From there, she went cold. And she found an excuse to get up and leave very shortly thereafter. And I realized that's still a thing it was 2016, I believe it was. Anyways, that's her choice. She wanted to have this little white nationalist relationship, and I just wasn't made of the same cloth. It was a deal breaker for her. Was that friend zone? Was that race zoned? No. It was the end zone. That was it. No touchdown. End of game. I accept that. But the friend zone guys don't. They're still hanging around these girls. Oh, if only she'd break up with Chad and go out with me, I'd be able to keep her happy. I'd do everything, blah, blah, blah. There's a reason she's with Chad, and that's because he's not as big of a scumball as you think he is. Or maybe he is, and that's just who she has chosen. Everybody has a type. Just like that Russian girl. Her type was white with no other races in their background, which I kind of find funny in the 20th century. But anyways, the point of all this, alphas and betas don't exist. The friend zone doesn't exist. Do you know what does exist? You, your personality, and what you can do. I hate to say this, but there is still prejudice against people who are overweight. That's one thing people could improve on. People have all sorts of things they do and they don't realize that they do. And I don't want to come down on anybody, but it's that self-image. Currently, I'm sitting facing forward. I should probably be standing so I can project my voice. But like I said, people who know me find that very comforting. I have this wonderful ability. People either love me or hate me. Like I said, my wife's friend thinks I'm this big, scary guy. And I'm like, the only thing I'm scary around is if you order some ribs and chicken wings, and then I'll show you I'm scary. But other than that, stop using this incredibly obsolete terminology that has no real world basis. Self-improvement and understanding yourself are the things that are going to make you attractive and maybe even teach you which people are more likely to be your type and to be interested in you in return. You can ask 1 million women for a date. You might get one, But that wasn't because you understood what was happening. It was just dumb luck. And that's what the friend zone people are doing. They're just trying to go with quantity. I always looked for quality. I'm sure some people would look at my wife and say, oh, why is she with him? And some people look at me and, oh, why is he with her? That's nature. That's what happens. Those are people I wouldn't particularly like to be in a relationship with. And I'm sure my wife wouldn't either. So, in conclusion, self-knowledge is the most important thing in the world. Don't let yourself get pulled into this trap of the friend zone. If you're friends with a woman, and I say this because, again, the friend zone is specifically a male thing. If you're friends with a woman, be thankful for that friendship, because worst case scenario, maybe she's got a friend who would be into you, or they have friends, or whatever it is. You're still using them, but you're treating her as a person, and not as a love thing, a love object to pine over. This isn't the Middle Ages. Chivalric love is dead. Don't let yourself be another victim of it. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to buy a book down in the description. It really helps the channel. And we hope you have a fantastic day.